Greetings, I am KMC Guy, President and Founder of Automated System Solutions, or ASS, coming to you from the 99th floor of our world headquarters in Budapest, North Dakota, or better known as the office next to my bedroom. Let's get started. In Power of the Table View Part 1, we're going to cover a quick review of the table views. A lot of this information has already been covered in KMC's previous videos, but I've thrown a few extra things in. Then we'll be talking about bulk views of controller objects and changing of values. I hit Site up at the top, hit Open, and I've got several sites in here, and this is what I've started to do. It really doesn't do you any good to have specific job sites anymore. I find that I'm connecting to job sites remotely, locally, through this network, through that network, through my BACnet router, through their BACnet router, through the Jace, and each way you connect, the discovery ends up being different. So I find myself having to rediscover these job sites continuously, so I don't really end up using job sites. There's nothing in these job sites that are like no network connections in them. No, it doesn't save files to specific locations based on the site connected to. So I just have these up here. Now the A-testing limited. Maybe I'm connecting up to a job site that has a whole bunch of controllers, and I just want to make changes to one controller or a couple of controllers or maybe a specific network. I'll connect up through using that and then do a limited discovery, which is just the device objects, just controllers, and then do a full discovery on the controllers that I'm messing with. And then I've got two other sites, just testing sites. These would be, let's say in a week I'm working on 2 different job sites, and I can just maybe use the saved device list. I'm going to go into A-testing. And so you can see some of these sites here. These are some of my most popular sites, like Blind Leading the Blind Institute. Okay, so I'm going to go into A-testing. Connect. Now I've already discovered the controllers in this site, so I'm just going to do find. Find just kind of reestablishes a connection to them. So I'm going to hit find, and boom, there they are. Okay, so let's get started with the table views. This is just a quick, what you might have already seen in the KMC videos. Let's say I want to bring up the input objects in a table. So I'm going to double click on that, or I can right click and configure inputs, which will do the same thing. Sometimes I find it easier just to right click. The double clicking doesn't always seem to take. I think that's a function of how I have my double click set up on my computer, not so much the software. But, okay, so now you've got that. You can add to this. Okay, I'm going to just put the outputs in there also. I'll just drag the outputs there instead of double clicking, and it brings that list up. Okay, so let's skinny this down to just the properties we're interested in. I'm going to click View, choose Visible Properties. Now, I normally just right click and hit Clear All, and don't bother with the object name because it's already on the left in the path. I might use the object identifier. It shows like analog input 5, binary. I will use the priority array, of course the present value, and the relinquished fault. Okay. So there's our list skinny down, and I'm just going to do a refresh on this. Now notice how it shows that these are unsupported priority arrays. These are inputs. Part of the BACnet standard says that you shouldn't be commanding inputs, which is not exactly true. You can actually command them, but that's another discussion. Okay, so here's your auto refresh. You can set this up. I probably wouldn't go less than 5 seconds, and of course, select probably just the present value that you would update. Well, probably the priority array too. And I don't normally do this for some reason. I usually end up just hitting the refresh. Part of the reason for that is, let's say I wanted to command this point here, and I want to go to active. Okay, it defaults to priority 8 if you don't specify. If I had it set up for auto refresh, it could end up refreshing that before I have a chance to save the changes. It ends up being a big old pain. So I usually just use the auto refresh, or excuse me, the refresh. So let's let me close that out. I don't want to save that. Now I'm going to show you something that's been part of Total Control and Connect that a lot of people don't know exists. I'm going to open up input, and let's say the outputs into a table. Okay, so again, you can go skinny down those properties, but so I'm going to take this output and I'm pushing and holding the button down on my mouse. And notice how you've got all these floating options here, and if you hover over the hot spot of those, it does it. Okay, so here you put it to the left, put it top, put it to the bottom, and put it to the right. This center one is put it back to the tab form, so I'm going to put it to the right. So there we are. Now I'm going to slide this in here to the middle. So now I've got two of them tiled. So let's say I want to bring up the loop objects. So right click, configure the loop objects. Now that puts it back in the tab form. I'm going to click and hold. Now I'm going to put that one on the bottom. Now notice how it only put it on the bottom of that one. So I'm going to reselect this one. And I'm going to put this one back to the right. Now I've got the tables all kind of tiled apart. So there's a kind of nifty little thing. Also, you can select one of these tables and take it right off the software. If you had two computer screens, which I happen to have going here, but you could drag this to a different screen. So I can, but it's called floating. But I'm not going to do that. Let's move on. Okay, now we're going to do a bulk listing of objects on different controllers. Let's say you want to bring up all the CFMs on all the VAV boxes. Well, you can do that quite easily. So I'm going to go to View. I'm going to select Table View. And I'm going to hit this View button here. And you're going to want to uncheck this Hide Path. That way you can see the controller that the specific objects are on. So I'm going to go to Edit Object Path. I'm going to go to Add. Rarely do I use the Resource Manager. Almost always it's a Network Manager. So that's what NM stands for. I'm going to select that. You could hand type this stuff in, but I'm just going to go searching for it. Now I just grabbed the first controller that showed up. That was a VAV box. And I'm going to look for primary actual flow. Now you could start typing in stuff, and it will start showing you objects with that in there, and then select primary actual flow of that there, or even hand type in the actual mnemonic of it, like AV24 or whatever it is. I'm going to double click on that. You can see that it's in there, and hit OK and OK. One of the things you're going to want to do when you're doing large amounts of views is you want to skinny it down to the properties that you want to see first before you go doing wildcards. So I'm going to go to Visible Properties, right click, Clear All. Now this just happens to be CFM, actual CFM, so I'm not gonna put a lot of the other stuff in there like priority arrays and that, so I'm just gonna do present value. And well, maybe you want to see the object name, so go down and find object name. Okay, so I'm just going to expand this out a little bit. So there we are. Now I'm going to go back to the object path and I'm going to skinny it down or put wildcards in there. One of the things that's nice is if you set up your VAV boxes, if you can, for specific air handling units, maybe there's some indication in there like maybe the VAV boxes are 100, so you might put 100 and 100 or something like that. The first number would be the air handling unit that's off from, and then the next number would be the actual VAV number. That way this would work a lot better. So I'm just going to put VAV 9 and then I'm going to put star. There's the list of the VAV controllers that have that object in it. Hit OK. Okay. And now I've got a list of all the, oops, sorry, I missed the present value. I got the priority array in there instead of present value. Sorry. Okay, so there's the active CFMs. Now maybe I want to do the set points. So I'm going to go open up a new table, another table, and I'm going to just quickly do this. Add an object, network manager, BACnet network, and I'm going to go to flow set point. Okay. I'm going to go to view, edit, file. Oops, excuse me. I'm going to go to change the properties first, clear all. Now, maybe the present value, possibly the priority array, and the relinquished default. Okay, I've got that there. Now I'm going to go back up, edit the file path, and make it, and put the wildcard in. Star. Okay. Now you can see that we got that, and I can then do the old tile thing again, and I can do the comparisons, and so let's reorder this so they're in the same order, and now I can compare the actual flow to the flow set point.